Welcome to chess, ladies and gentlemen. You know, this is how T.I. wears his hats. For those of you who do not know who T.I. is, he's a rapper from Atlanta. But anyways, man, for any of you out there who are curious about my hat, like I said, I just got this hat today. San Francisco 49ers, in case you don't know the football team. And it does, here's a close-up of the side of it. It says the Bay Area 49ers, your little gold nuggets, Cali and all that stuff, you know what I'm saying? You know, anyways, I know it's kind of hard to see when I wear hats or whatever. I'm going to get some more, man. I don't know when, at some point in the future. Anyways, so as you guys know, we do have the Fischer Random World Championship going on right now. So this is the rematch game between Hjorvar Gretarsson and Wesley. So they just switched colors. It is the same position though. So, if I'm not mistaken, trying to see what a position it is here. I don't have that info. It's going to be in the description. So, fear not, my people. It will be in the description. But it is, like I said, it is the exact same position as it was before. So, anyways, man. But if you guys are ready to go, man, before I do that, anybody who is coming from, you know, the Philippines, mabuhay to you. Kamusta, aking makaibigan. Masaya Koma Kitty Kang Muli. I appreciate you guys very much for stopping by. Anybody who is coming from Iceland, I will say hello. And Tak Fitish. I appreciate you guys very much, but let's roll. So we got the move E4, E6, D4, D5. So we have the French defense 960 version of that, which is, of course, not the same thing. We do see the move G3. We got knight to B6, knight to B3. So you see that if you guys watched my previous video, then you guys see that we varied a little bit. We are not playing the exact same moves. We're kind of, you know, doing a little different. It is the players switching the colors. So Wesley is playing black and Gretarsson is playing the white side. So they just flip sides. So we do have the move G5. Why not throw a pawn out there for absolutely no reason? I don't know why this move is played. Be honest with you. Maybe just kind of opening the queen up. But, I mean, there's not a bishop here. So, normally this would be like, you know, a really bad move to make because you're just going to get it snapped up. But that's not the case here. So, we do see pawn takes D5, pawn takes D5, knight goes up to C5. And this is a little trappy. You know, you are trying to be a little bit sneaky. And Wesley sees through this and he says, bro, I'm just going to play H5, dog, you know. But if we back up here, of course, you know, for those of you who are wondering, if we do take with the bishop here, this would just be displacing the knight. And this is going to be a completely hanging pawn. And this is actually a very, very winning position for white. But anyways, we go back to where we see the move H5. We got C3. Rook goes to D6. So we're just rook lifting it, homie. Bishop goes to D2. We got bishop to H6, contesting the bishop. I mean, and also protecting our pawn, man. We want to protect pawns, bro. So we do see bishop to D3. We got long castles by black. And one of the things I didn't really touch on, I did touch on it, but visually I haven't been able to show it. You know, I was telling you guys before about the castling rules and everything like that. I think most of you guys are pretty familiar with it now. You know, this rook, even though it looks kind of strange, this rook did come up here to clear this square out. Now, when we get in this position here, we do have this square and this square free because those are the same squares that black would end up on, you know, and pretty much just, you know, swinging the rook over here. So it would end up being like that. So we have to make sure that this was clear. So that's why the rook lift was done. And then now we do have the castles like you guys see. Okay, cool. So that's giving you guys a little bit of visual on the queen side castling at least. So we do see the move H4. We got G4. You know, basically introducing these bishops to each other like, hey, how are you? I'm fine. Forget you, right? So we do see knight up to E2. We got bishop down to C6, which might look kind of strange. But, you know, we are anticipating at some point trying to put a piece here for black. So, you know, kind of changing the structure. But right now, this bishop is kind of a tall pawn. So we do see the move B3, just restricting this knight a little bit, man. We don't want this knight hopping in here, dude. Like, keep your pieces out of my side, homie. So we do see rook over to E8. We got rook to E1. We got knight up to F6. And then we do have a knight to F4. And then, like I said, we are trying to plop a piece down onto the E4 square. So we do see bishop taking E4, pawn taking E4. And then a very, very observant move because we actually have a discovery coming up. If we leave the queen here, it is opposite this bishop if this pawn moves. So we would be losing a bishop completely. So We do see queen to f1, stepping out of that danger. And then we do have bishop back to f8. We got bishop to e3. We got knight to d5. We got knight taking d5, rook taking d5. And then we do have the move b4. We, as white, you know, we're trying to get this, you know, the whole goal of, Gretarsson going this move is that if he does take with the bishop, we are looking at the pawn taking here, and he's kind of feeling like something might kind of open up in this B file. It kind of stands to be seen if that is the actual case. So we say, hey man, go ahead and bishop takes c5, pawn takes c5, and we have actually reached a position that if you do want to pause the video and try to guess this move, Wesley So actually finds a really interesting idea in this position. Go ahead and pause the video and try to see if you can guess the move that he found. Okay, cool. So, it is actually, I feel like this isn't the easiest move to find just because it seems like there's so much visually in the way. But the move is actually rook takes c5. And some of you guys at the beginning of this might be like, why am I taking that pawn? Like, what is the idea behind this? Well, basically, if you do take pawn takes c5, you would be absolutely, completely losing the game. And this is actually mating. Queen takes c3 with check. The king slides over to d1, only move. And then you do see the rook going to d8. And you basically just have to throw pieces in the way all day until you get mated. So, bro, do not think that you have just won a rook and get mated like this, homie. So don't do that. So after the rook takes c5, we do see the rook going up to b3, just defending against this. And so now the rook is live to be taken. So you have to do something about it. So we do see the rook over to a5. We got king up to b2. The queen goes to f6. We do see queen up to c4. But this is actually a pretty horrible blunder because of the move bishop to d5. No, this is not what you wanted to do. I remember I was playing a game against a national master one time over the board. You know, I had two rooks like this and he just stopped for a minute and did this. And I was like, nah, man, why do I suck at chess, homie? You ever thought about that? Why do I suck at chess? Think about it all the time, bro. So we do see queen over to b4 and then not even taking the rook. We say, bro, I'm trying to mate you with queen to a6, bro. So Wesley So's like, bro, I don't even care about your rook at the moment, man. So we do see the move rook to a3. Then we have rook taking a3, queen taking a3, and then we see queen taking a3 and then king taking a3. And black has basically just won themselves a pawn with that rook takes c5 situation. So we do see rook over to e6. We got king to b4. And Wesley So says, gift me the pawn, homie. It wasn't the absolute best move in a position. The absolute best move is rook to c6. But, I mean, it's a pawn. So, I mean, you know, it's a lot of people that think about these pawn moves, these pawn captures, man. Pawn grubbers, as they're called. So we do see the move rook over to a1. We got rook to a6. We got the move d5, which this is a really, really deep idea. Because if the bishop did take, we would be looking at rook taking, doubling the pawns. And I mean, you gave up a pawn, but you are getting kind of like an improved structure as white. So, I mean, it's kind of worth it. So we do see the move b5, not even going for any of that. We got bishop to d4, king down to b7. We see king up to c5, and we have the move f6. Bishop takes f6, rook takes f6, rook takes a2, and at the same time, they are defending this pawn here. So, I mean, black is still up the pawn, but I mean, it's not just completely won. I mean, there's definitely still a lot of play going on. So, you still got to win the game, you know. Some of the hardest games to win are won games, I mean, as it was said. So, we see the move a6. We got the move c4. Rook goes to b6, and we do see king to d4, and you absolutely cannot allow c5 to be played. That is not what we want to be doing. So we do see pawn taking c4, king taking c4, rook down to b1. We see king over to d4 because we're trying to win this pawn. And everything is just everything. But, you know, Wesley So says, bro, rook to b4, check, son. King goes down to c3. We see rook up to b5. We got king to d4 again. And then we have the move a5. And then the king does take on e4 at this point in time. Now, we got the king down to b6. We got rook over to c2. We see the move a4. So, I mean, this pawn is doing a little something, homie. And more importantly, I'm going to tell you this in-game situation in a second. But that is a very important move that black has just made. Rook goes to c6 with check. We see king to b7. Rook down to c4 attacking that pawn. And then we see the move rook to a5. And we are going to get into an in-game that I mentioned before. We got the rook going to b4 with check. King goes to a6. Rook down to b1. We got a3. King goes down to d3. a2. And then rook to a1. And for those of you that watched my last couple of videos, I did mention this specific type of an endgame. When you do have a passed pawn, you do want to put your rook behind the pawn. So this is a real picturesque, you know, photo of the situation. If you are black and you have this passed pawn, you absolutely do want to have this rook behind this pawn. And basically you have just immobilized black's rook. This rook cannot move off of A1. Absolutely, at no point do you want your rook restricted to one square. And that is exactly what, you know, this type of in-game makes white do. Because, I mean, you absolutely cannot allow this pawn to promote. And so the only thing you can do is basically sit and blockade the pawn. So, you know, black has basically made white's rook completely useless. It's just like any other piece, a king, a pawn, a knight, a bishop, just blocking a piece. That's not what you want your rook to be doing. So you are completely immobilized if you are white in this position. The king goes to b5. The king goes to c3. You see king to c5. You see king down to b2. You got king up to d7. Actually, instead of taking the pawn, he's triangulating his queen and tossing the move back to Gretarsson. So it might look kind of strange. It's like, why wouldn't I just take the pawn? Well, basically, you know, it's not like it's losing. You can do anything you want to in this position. But, I mean, you do want to make sure that you capture this pawn at the time that it's most beneficial for you. And if you're black, you have a lot of time to spare because you have so many reserve moves. I mean, this white cannot move its rook at all. So, I mean, you pretty much only have king moves that you can make. So, I mean, take your time, homie. That's one of the things. Do not rush. When you are in a winning position, sometimes you can just take your time and just win the position and you're good to go. So we do see king up to d6. We got king over to c2. And it is now that we actually take the pawn on d5. The king goes to b2. We see the rook going over to b5 with check. The king going over to c2. We see the rook going over to a5. King going to b2. And then after we see king to e4. It is in this position that Gretarsson does resign the game. There is nothing left for you to do in this position. You absolutely, like I said, cannot move your rook, and there is absolutely nothing that you can do about this king going over here and scooping up every single one of your pawns. And you're not stopping all these pawns, homie. Because you're pretty much just tied to this pawn, man. You can't do that. And there's no way for you to switch out your king with your rook. There really isn't. So if we back up in this position, after we saw king going over to b2, and we saw the move king to d6, some of you might have wondered in this exact position, like, why don't I just take the pawn on a2? Like, that's what I moved my king over there for, right? Well, the thing about it is you would be into a completely lost endgame. Like I said, nothing is winning in this position. But if we just oblige you real quick, rook takes a2, rook takes a2, king takes a2, king takes d5. I mean, you got to shake hands on this one, man, because this pawn, not only does it have the ability to move anywhere it wants to with the help of this king, you also have a situation where you can make this king, go after this pawn, and you can still do the same thing as you saw in the previous position before. So, you know, these are understanding these positions, you know, pattern recognizing. So even though we are playing 960 and the opening portion is not, you can't memorize theory. I mean, to a certain point, like you can normally. All middle game and end game stuff is all completely still the same. So if you have good end-game technique, you're going to be a good chess 960 player. And that is what Wesley so is. So it's not perfect, but I mean, he definitely does a really good job at playing some chess. I'm going to tell you that. So that is that game. I appreciate you guys very much for stopping by. So maraming salamat aking makaibigan. Tak finish. And I'll see you guys next time.